Welcome to Rhythm, a podcast on being in balance through conversations with the Swami. Namaste, Rhythm listeners. My name is Sunil. I'm back with Swami Tadananda. How are you, Swamiji?
Good, Sunil. Thank you. How are you?
Good, thank you. Good. In an earlier episode, we talked about emotional well-being. We live in communities with our families, wife, husband, parents, kids, and also the wider community, including work colleagues. We interact with people, we give and we receive. And we have expectations of people that are around us. Sometimes these relationships bring a source of unhappiness and impacts our emotional well-being. Swamiji, the question today is, does the Vedanta teachings have something to say about how we could approach this common problem?
Sure, Sunil. As a general rule in Vedanta, we say the source of all our miseries is ignorance. And when we bring in the light of the knowledge of Vedanta, then you'll find that automatically the darkness of ignorance disappears. So here we try to bring that understanding in relationships objectively. Sometimes we are not very, very objective, and therefore we don't see things with that same clarity. We color it with our expectations and all that. So let us say, any relationship, there is some transaction, some give and some take is there. It could be like a very business transaction, customer and shopkeeper. It could be a family transaction, People get married. Both parties have some expectation of each other. And so long it's a good match and they continue to fulfill that expectation, we are happy. It's a happy relationship. Same thing at work. Employer and employee both have an expectation that you try to sort out in the interview, and there's a contract. And both are fulfilling that. Both parties are happy. But if one of them fails to fulfill that party, and then the relationship begins to sour, and at some point it might be a separation, firing or whatever. Same thing happens in other relationships also. So we have to understand right in the beginning that we entered in those relationships at our own free choice with some expectations, both parties. And now that we are caught with those expectations, I need the job, I need the money type of thing. I don't like the job, but I'm still going to put up with that because I need that money. So you're bound by it. You get married and you have children. Maybe a relationship, you don't find out after some time that the other person is not what you had imagined or expected. And as you discover that, you get a bit disillusioned.
Yes.
But then you have children, you've got duties and responsibilities, and you can't walk out of that. So you might just suffer in silence or somehow try to make, but not happy, miserable.
Yes.
And many people go through that in so many ways. So each case will be different, but some general principles we can share with people to review or reflect. And when you can't change the external situation, we can always change the subjective side, our side. Okay.
Right.
And so the suffering is in our own mind. Okay.
Yes, it's not
He's not the other person. One person is totally detached and don't care, but the other person could be totally suffering. So the suffering is in the mind of the sufferer, and he's the one who has to take the medicine and sort that out. No one can enter into that person's mind. Maybe somebody might give some counseling, have some sweet talk, some advice, but ultimately the person has to heal himself. Knowledge is a great power. Spiritual knowledge. And so the way to approach this is to be very, very objective, detached, look at your own mind in a non-judgmental way, and not trying to be be clinical and surgical, call a spade type of thing. So let us take an example of a husband and wife. There might be a very common situation like that. So two people think that this would be a good pairing. They have some expectations. I need a wife, husband, fulfills my life's journey. We'll have children. We'll live happily ever after. All that story that we hear. After some time, I'm a monk, I do not know, but many people say that's not the reality hits. But then you are in the journey, you are committed to it, and you try to make it work. All that goes on. So long, both people are able to adjust, adapt with each other's shortcomings or whatever is there and make it work, it's going good, right? But at some point, life is trying to teach you, whatever you have the illusion and whatever is the reality are two different things. Wake up from that illusion. The happiness that you thought was there probably was there momentarily. Maybe it's not there permanently. Wake up to that. The security that you felt would come from the other person in your life. Maybe this was there for a while or is there still in some degree, but it's not in the measure that you're expecting. The love and respect that you're expecting to be there all the time is not there in that same measure. And
so it's always these expectations across all this spectrum of things that we wanted. These expectations are there, very high. They're not being met at that level.
And therefore, we try to make adjustments, and mostly it's not, I'm going to change my expectations. It always is about blaming the other party and say, hey, can you match it up, you were so good before, you were doing all these things, why don't do this, so it's like I'm demanding. It becomes more of a demand. Expectation can be, could be mild hint in something. It could be obsessive, demanding certain type of thing, and another party might succumb to it, and it's a very one-way abusive relationship. There are the extremes of things people suffer under that, One enjoys who is abusive, the other one suffers the other party. It's not a balanced type of thing. Different levels, very complicated is there. But at the end of the day, if the person is trying, who's miserable, try to look this. So, and I'm not saying that this is the same formula that's going to work all the way. At a certain point, different people will take different steps. But the first approach could be about making that subjective change in yourself. And you say, this is the reality. Here's this person that came in my life. He or she has brought me so much joy and happiness. I'm grateful to that person for sharing that life with me. Okay, so gratitude comes. I'm not demanding anything. Thank you for everything you brought in. Maybe that is much all that you have to offer. In my illusion, I had expected so much more. That was my problem. That I expected so much. It's like, you employ somebody and you think that this person is going to deliver all this wonderful output work. And that person is not able to deliver it. And then you get upset with that guy and say, I hired you for this. It's my mistake that I did not evaluate you properly.
Yes.
I should not be blaming that person. That person, he said, I came with these things. I'm giving my best. This is all I have to offer. So the employer says, he comes to the reality and accepts the limitations and rectifies oneself subjectively. This person is good for this particular job. I should give him that type of responsibility. Should not promote him in the manager when he's good enough to be a floor worker.
Yes.
He's very good at that level, but because I think I can get more out of him, I promote him, and now he's not able to deliver. Then I get upset with that guy. I say, why you're so good at the floor level and now you're so... He says, I never asked for the promotion. You have given me that promotion.
You asked.
Yeah. And now you're putting additional pressure on me.
Yes.
And blaming me.
It's classic Swamiji. We are we are going through some of those things at work.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure a lot of people go through things like that at work when we promote people beyond what their current capability is.
Yes.
And then we see them fail and then we
blame them. Yeah. For being lazy or not being competent or working hard enough.
Correct. And that happens all the time. See that at a few places. So.
Yeah. So here, what would be our approach would be, we review our expectation and say, are we being realistic? And we most of the time will find that, the problem is with us. Okay. We acknowledge what the other person has to offer. We're grateful. We put them in the right place. They deliver what they're capable of. That's the best fit. Find another person who will take the next responsibility. But just by pushing somebody who's doing very good job, now you have disturbed his output, made his life miserable, and made yourself miserable, and blaming all the responsibility on the other person. So it's a good example.
How do we how do you apply that to the husband, wife? It's a bit more complex. You can't just go, right, your level was this, I'm going to reduce you to the level, I'm going to find another one. It's not very simple as that.
Monks, I can't tell very much about, but let me see the application of it. So, how would that be? Yes, you get married to somebody. Okay, we have certain expectations. That person will bring you happiness, and you'll share your life, give and take, be there for each other, taking care of food, clothing, shelter, and all those things. Not lonely, have a companion in your journey of life, and all those things. Sharing good times, bad times, and all those type of things happen. While that's going good, we're happy with each other. But people are not fixed, static things. People change. Life changes. They learn, they move on. And sometimes when our expectations are fulfilled, then you might not need the other person so much more. All right. And therefore, that transaction of giving and taking is not the same. Okay.
Yes.
The approach would be to view every relationship with gratitude, not as an obligation, not as a demand that is to be fulfilled. People are in the spiritual journey. We are spiritual travelers. We come into each other's lives to share whatever we give to somebody, that should be received with grace, with gratitude. And if we say, it might be a whole life of relationship, it might be even short even there. Who knows? We know what are the, what we might say, the prarabdha, the karma that has brought into a relationship. But if we take care that we do not have unrealistic expectations for this, okay, that's something we can take care of, just like unrealistic expectations of the employer and employee type of thing. And we see that we are not attached to that person. Relationship and attachment are two different things. Relationship is not a problem. It is the attachment to things that is a problem. It's a mental tentacle of this octopus that goes and grips something and says, that is mine. And it should behave the way I want it to do. It should stand up and sit down. And that makes me happy. It will do the things that I want. And if it's not doing, then I'm not happy. It was so nice, you're behaving so well nicely. Now you're not saying hello to me in the morning, and that, so I'm not happy with you type of thing. It's just that expectation and that attachment that is the problem. Suppose you let that go. Let me give you an example. It's always good to blame. It's easy to blame the other person.
Yes.
Suppose there's a vehicle with a chain or rope hanging behind it. Somebody holds it and the vehicle begins to move. And he falls down and is being dragged on the ground. He's getting cut, bruised, bleeding, and he's crying. And now he's blaming the vehicle for dragging him. While he might be, really he's holding it. He can let go.
Yeah.
And that puts an end to the relationship, that suffering. But then, is that what would be the solution? Do we let go? Do we separate? Do we get divorced? Or this?
Yes.
Many people might say that is the clear cut. But if they do not let go mentally,
yes,
even the physical separation has gone or divorce has happened, but the other party or the other person has not let go mentally, and they will continue to suffer.
Yes.
Attachment here means mental attachment.
Yes.
The suffering is a mental thing, remember. It's not a physical thing. No one is coming and beating you. It's a mental thing. You're getting mentally beaten and not the other person. You're beating yourself, basically.
Yes.
All right. So you might look at it in a different way of not having that expectation or attachment to this. It could be even attachment. We get attached to everything, basically. It could be attached to money, a position, and job, a house, a car, a cat or dog, a wife or husband or children. It's all these things where we squander the freedom of ourselves to these things with the expectation that they will make me happy. But with every one of those little actions, we surrender our freedom to them. And we have become enslaved by them in the sense now they control my happiness. And sometimes they will take me up and sometimes they will take me down. We dance to that music. It could be the person who's now happy with me, greets me nicely, and now tomorrow Next day he did not greet me, so he feels it. See, it's easy to blame that person. He's not nice to me. But it is I who have given my freedom of my happiness to that person. Can I take that back?
Right.
You see, so it's a subtle thing there. In everything, it's a handshake. Okay, two people are involved. But our control is in our hand.
Yes.
And that is something you can do about. So we go back into our mind and look at ourselves objectively and say, hi, this is something I can continue that relationship, continue to do my duty and responsibility, because you always can't walk out of it.
Yes.
All right. But can I do it with detachment? You see, the detachment or non-attachment is the secret of success and happiness.
Yes. So still being together. But mentally detached.
Yeah.
That you're not holding on, you're not having that high level of expectations. And therefore, there's nothing to be unhappy about after.
Yeah. And then it's not a negative level, letting go something. In Vedanta, you can transform it from a positive direction, a more enlightened understanding of that relationship.
Right.
It could be like, I'm a spiritual being. This is another spiritual being. We are all free beings. Everyone has got a free will. I like my free will. I want to be respected. But I should also give that same freedom to the other person. Okay, I accept that. No. And people will behave in ways that might not totally be according to my liking. That's fine.
Yes.
It's not going to be 100% obligatory, in every way. So we can discuss this a little bit more. It's a very interesting thing. But there are so many situations. The fundamental idea is to not blame the other person,
yes.
Not blame the external situation, the boss, the company, the weather, the government, the external things which are beyond our control. Otherwise, we just become people. No one wants to keep our company because we're miserable. We make everyone miserable. Whinging, grumbling, complaining type of thing. That's not a good way to interact. We can look at our own selves and change our perspective and approach. And that's where the bigger picture of life comes. In the light, we go from the 2 dimensions to the 3 dimension. The solution is always at a higher dimension to the problem that we are talking about. This is a very useful and very good principle to solve problems in any situation, whether at work, office, practical problem, engineering, whatever you might say, or a relationship or spiritual sin. We can discuss this. It's about constructing. Maybe I should give a challenge to our listeners. So here's the challenge. Take 6 matchsticks and using those 6 matchsticks, construct 4 equilateral triangles. Each triangle should have the full length of the matchstick. Okay? 6 matchsticks.
Yes.
4 equilateral triangles. And it's possible to do it.
Yes.
But you'll discover something when you find the answer. And that will give us a very powerful hint about how we should approach a problem.
About perspectives.
About where the solution to a problem truly lies. Okay. Let's give this to our listeners and we take this up and then we'll use this example when people are seeking a solution to a problem or whatever problem, emotional problem or even the worldly problem, and point out where a true solution lies. Okay.
Right. Thank you, Samaji. It was quite deep today. I hope it's benefited the listeners and they'll be able to reflect on these discussions today. Thank you, Samaji.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you for listening. Being in Balance, Rhythm. For more information, please visit www.vedanta.nz.